Welcome back folks, my name is LastKnownMeal and today we're going to talk about organized crime in the dark future. Keep in mind this is different than booster gangs because we're going to cover a more traditional organizations like the Yakuza, the Mafia and the Triads, so let's get into it. Now recently I started getting questions about the mob or generally what other organizations survived in 2020 and later. Well, it's still a huge business. Many organized crime syndicates still operate in the world and that's not an exception for Night City. Because for law enforcement, organized crime is different than regular booster gangs because they usually conduct a business very professionally and of course discreetly, and with a huge web of informants, soldiers and the community they operate from, it's nearly impossible for the law to catch them off guard or to catch them in general. And the reason for that is that most of them take care of their community and generates income for a lot of people, so of course people will defend them. As it is in real life, these organizations stick to their communities and only fill their ranks with the same ethnic group, or usually have one leader or a very small group of leaders, but even they can be subsidiaries in a sense from the top man or the godfather from the Mafia, for example. In the world of Cyberpunk though, every city now has a special agent in charge of organized crime, so they monitor what is going on, and their bureau is called the OCB. Now the first organization we're going to look at are the Yakuza. They are one of the biggest organized crime syndicates in the world, with members being spread out all over the United States, Europe and Asia. Their HQ is situated in Osaka region of Japan, with their leader or Oyabun being on top of all, with various groups under him, but his power is granted by the Osaka clan chiefs. And look, these chiefs is like an alliance of various Yakuza groups that report to one man, but even that alliance is weak since they are known to go to war with each other over turf, gigs or other misunderstandings. So it basically goes like this: the Oyabun is on top, and Oyabun actually reports to the Osaka clan chiefs because they actually elect one. But everyone else, they pay tribute to the Oyabun. Everyone else. Also, fun fact is that Yakuza translated into good for nothing, and it originates from a Japanese game called Samai Karuta, or 3 cards, and the goal is to reach 19 instead of 21 like in blackjack. So if you drew 8 ya, 9 ku and 3 za, you get Yakuza, or well 20 points, which is good for nothing, thus the term. Now what about Night City? Well, they pretty much are the biggest organization there because the mob is keeping the East Coast themselves, so on the west they hold that power, but even like if you compare them to Mafia, Mafia is bigger. But I'm still not sure if they have the same strength in 2077, but I see no reason for them to stop existing since they pretty much kept their ways the same. They are extremely aggressive, meaning they always look to expand, and if you stand in their way, they won't think twice to get rid of you. They won't even try to negotiate. It also falls under the booster gangs. Booster gangs, like you have big or small ones, like the biggest one maybe has 5,000-6,000 members, but they are still not even strong as these organizations, so you won't see booster gangs generally attacking Yakuza or the Mafia or even the Triads. So how do they hire? Well, they mostly rely on Japanese bosozuga or hot rod and motorcycle gangs, one of them being the Tiger Claws, that do have ties to Yakuza, and also they are known to basically get orphans when they are very small so they can be re-educated, you know, over time to serve within the organization and to exist within the organization. Their inner rules are simple but constantly broken. For example, number 1, never reveal the secrets of the organization. Never violate the wife and children of another member. No personal involvement with narcotics. Do not withhold the money from the gang. Do not fail in obedience to superiors, and do not appeal to the police or the law. Of course, they don't hold everything in Night City, but still majority of legal businesses are just fronts for their operations within the city. And it's also good to know that they do have ties to Arasaka, I'm sure of it. And because they did adapt to the dark future, cybernetics became a vital part of everyone there, so they do augment themselves. Like mostly, like majority of people in the dark future do have augmentations and cybernetics that help them, but they are a part of these classic organizations that we have today in real life. Now let's take a look at Mafia or the Mob or Cosa Nostra. In the world of Cyberpunk, their history is maintained, meaning they originated from Sicilian clan families, and for a very long time people didn't know they even existed. In 2020 though, they are the most powerful organization within the US. They make a lot of money through their legitimate businesses, but also through various, semi-legit operations. One thing which separates the Mafia from all other groups is that they are extremely low-key and very good at planning, meaning they strike from the shadows and pull out even before people realize they were there. And they are not prone to random acts of violence which puts them on the map, but rather take huge care to conclude a business in the most silent way, and you won't even know you actually made someone in the Mafia angry until you are dead. Also, they are extremely loved in their community because they take care of the people in a sense, so it makes it especially difficult to arrest them, and also they don't really give the law any reasons to raid them because they don't expose themselves so much, and because, in their pocket they have many politicians, people in power, businessmen, etc., they're pretty much untouchable. They also still hold the same structure, so a godfather on the top which gives territories to capos and maintains order. Now, different mafia families have different godfathers and capos underneath them, and they are all members of the commission of bosses that maintains order. So each boss from every crime family is a member of that commission. So they solve problems, maintain order as I said, and discuss future business ventures or assassinations. If there is some dispute within, different families, the commission is going to meet so they can actually talk about those issues and try to resolve them. And it's important to note that never, ever do all of the mafia, bosses meet in one place. It happened once, they almost, all got arrested, and that's why they only conduct business between 2 or 3 bosses at the same time, and they meet like that. Of course, their business are the usual: stock fraud, money laundering, unions, loan sharking, and gambling. Even in the dark future, narcotics in the mafia are frowned upon, but if there is something we know is that I'm sure some of them deal in that because there is a lot of money involved. And, even though if it's against the mafia law or the Cosa Nostra law, they do it. Some things have changed for the mob. They are not hanging around their shops like they used to before in the 80s and the 90s and the 40s. Now they're businessmen operating like a corporation would, and with their resources they can easily rival one, but why would they? The business is good. Of course, as I said, Mafia is primarily situated in the east coast of USA, but I'm sure they have presence in Night City, so it should be interesting to see if they are still as big in 2077 and if we will interact with them at all in the game. Keep in mind, they operate on a much higher level than booster gangs, so just getting to them is near impossible. Now let's take a look at Triads a bit. They are the 3rd largest organization in the US, but they originated from Hong Kong and Taiwan. The Triads don't really have the power and influence like the Mafia or Yakuza. They are mostly present, but they still maintain a large area within the centers in Chinatown. So the starting area in Watson in 2077 is Little China. I mean, one part of the Watson is Little China, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Triads are involved there. The beginning of Triads can be tied to Chinese communities which appeared in the US, and most important thing we can look at there are the tongs. So a tong is a secret association of businesses and social leaders which oversees the building of the Chinese communities and the overall integration. They are usually legitimate people, but they're kind of bullied by the Triads to get in on with them, so tongs became Triads in a sense. Since they're not so huge, they are divided into 2 groups: Triad gangs that follow tourists into alleyways to rob them, the fighters, and the overall Triad hierarchy that maintains the order and looks for interests in various businesses, so they are organized in a sense. The second group are counselors and information brokers to various illegal dealers, smugglers, and service providers. Triads make money from primarily, drugs, prostitution, gambling, protection, stolen goods, etc. And since they operate in Chinatowns that usually don't have constant police presence, they tend to enforce their rule of law dealing with problems themselves. They are also the most aggressive organization out of all of them because if you cross them, you die. It's pretty simple, but they also savagely flatline people and, their families if they feel like you offended them. And since they have a point to prove, it seems, they're the ones who will reach the most violently out of all of them due to the lack of control, since they have bosses, but they don't really have a boss on top of them or a group of bosses to maintain order. They do actually have integration within the community, so if you kinda want to get in touch with them, you can just talk to certain people on the street and they might actually introduce you to them, but in my opinion, they are a more easier group to find and talk to than, Mafia, for example, because Mafia likes to keep things under wraps. Honestly, it's great that organized crime, is still maintained in the universe, since now some of them operate on a really huge scale, and going to 2077 and before that through the time of the Red after the Fourth Corporate War, I want to see the changes and power shifts they have. Again, I am not sure how present they generally are going to be in the game, but in the tabletop they are very much an important part of the crime of the dark future. And that's it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed it, click that like and subscribe button for more Cyberpunk content and join our growing community on Twitter and Discord. I also made a Patreon page if you wanted an extra way to support the channel. The link is below, and huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. This is LKM signing out, and stay classy everyone. Bye bye.